Welcome. Namaste. My name is Phillip Bivens. I am the owner of PB Yoga. PB Yoga is located in Naperville, Illinois. I teach out of the Universal Spirit Yoga Studio in Naperville. You can reach me at my website, pbyoga.home.mindspring.com. On there is additional contact information with my cell phone and email address. pbyoga@mindspring.com is the email, and the phone number is 630-841-4890. Well, I started yoga in 1999. It was practicing yoga. I needed to find an outlet. I have a corporate day job, which I still have. I started that in '84, and so I spent 15 years working in the corporate world. And in 1998, I had 3 major events occur in my life. One of them was a friend from work died of anorexia. The day of his funeral, my daughter was almost very close to being abducted by a stranger out looking for a lost puppy. Thank God she ran into the house and everything turned out fine, but it was one of those things that was just a matter of wow. And then shortly thereafter, I was sitting trying to work on a major new project that was coming through at work, and while we were working on that project, the stress levels, of course, you just get higher and higher and higher and higher levels of stress, and it became, okay, what was going to snap? Well, the muscles in the back of my neck decided to snap, and so I couldn't sit up for 3 weeks. So I just had lied around at home, trying to get my muscles to redo, going to chiropractors, acupuncturists as often as I could get to them, 3 or 4 times a week, trying to rebuild everything. And so the way I look at it is life gives you 3 turns. It'll knock on your door once with a little thing, says, okay, hello, I'm here, and that was my friend passing. And then that wasn't enough. Then my daughter was almost abducted, and so that still wasn't enough. And then finally I got whacked upside the back of the head with a 2x4, you know, virtually anyway, and felt pretty liberal about it, but it was only virtual. But it took a while, and so I determined, okay, I need to do something, or I'm not going to be around to see the kids grow. So I decided, well, let's start yoga. So in '99 I started yoga, and then went a year practicing yoga, doing 3 classes a week finally after I got up to it. And then after that point, after the 3rd class, the following year my instructor asked me, he said, have you ever thought of teaching? I said, teaching what? And she looked at me, she said, yoga, silly. And I said, oh, well, no, I never thought of teaching yoga. She said, well, you should. So I spent 3 months as an apprentice of hers, and then she went on a 3-week vacation. She was teaching 22 classes a week, and she needed subs to be able to do quite a bit of that. So I started doing the 1 class. I did 2 classes for her for a couple of weeks, and after I came back from that, she said, okay, well, how was it? And I said, well, it was okay. And she said, well, would you like to teach regularly? And I said, okay. So in the summer, we started a men's flex and stretch class, because, you know, men don't do yoga. So, you know, this was 2000 at that point. So we started the men's flex and stretch class. So we did that for a couple months. And then in 2001, we started a full-time regular yoga class on Wednesdays and Sunday nights. And the Sunday nights class I still do. That same class that I started back in 2001, I'm still teaching that time slot. Wednesdays have shifted to other days at this point. But yeah, so I decided I needed to do something to keep myself happy and healthy, and so yoga was it. So I started my yoga class, and, you know, 18.5 years later, here I am now teaching and now getting interviewed. Well, being a yoga practitioner / yoga teacher has a lot of advantages. Yoga, again, is a health activity. So, you know, right now everybody's looking at trying to be able to stay happy, stay healthy, and they kind of go hand in hand. The corporate world, especially the corporate world, is causing a lot of imbalance in people's lives. And so you need to bring balance back to your life. How do you do that? Well, there's no book, there's no manual. I know there's a lot of books written out there that try to explain it, but in life we aren't given a manual. You know, it says this is what you need to do to have a happy, healthy, balanced life. You know, none of that exists. So you have all these gurus, all these marketing people that are out selling their version of it. And some are good, some are not so good. And so it's a matter of trying to find what works for you. And so it's really a mind-body connection. So you must connect the mind with the body, with the spirit, to be able to find that true balance, that true sense of happiness. And yoga provides that mechanism to be able to find that for people. Some people come just because they need exercise or they need to figure out they're doing a workout. Yoga can give them that. if they want to try to get into more, more of the advanced topics and more of the spiritual aspects of yoga, yoga is there for them as well too. It depends on, what each person's looking for. Well, my personal business, PB Yoga, I teach classes, I'll do privates, I'll do, a lot of different things depending upon where and how people connect with me. They can reach me at pbyoga.home.mindspring.com for my website, or they can always call me at 630-841-4890 and, talk to me directly about different things. But that's primarily my main marketing. I teach here at the Universal Spirit Yoga in Naperville, and so I teach 7 classes a week here. We do a little bit of marketing, but most of it's word of mouth. So we depend on having the quality of classes, quality level of classes that people want to come back to. And once they start coming back, then we hope they share it with friends thinking, hey, this is good for me, maybe you'd like to come. The only problem is there's a lot of friends that kind of don't want to share with their other friends because they're afraid they're going to lose out on something because they found their bliss. And so if they bring a friend with them, then the friend is going to be doing all the chit-chatty stuff that friends always do, and they may lose out on some of their bliss time. So, while there is some communication that happens before and after yoga, in the yoga classes, we try to strive to keep it more, up and up, more, we're here to do the yoga poses, we're here to, work on each other, and not necessarily so much of a gab fest kind of thing. However, it goes back and forth. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not so easy to get to that point. And it all varies. Some classes are more communicative, more talkative than other classes. Some classes are just, okay, we're just going to be serious tonight. But it varies. Well, we do have a lot of social media. Universal Spirit Yoga has its own Facebook page. It has its own website. I have my own website. I do have a social media page on Twitter and on Facebook, but I haven't spent as much time trying to get it set up just because I have my the way I look at it, yoga is my full-time job. So I teach my 9 classes a week, 7 here at Universal Spirit, 2 at my day job that I teach Tuesdays and Thursdays there for my sanity, again, to try to maintain my balance and my sanity doing the day job, still in the communication business, writing, software and debugging and architecting and all kinds of other things. So I still need my balance. But then, but then that day job is 40 to 80 hours a week part-time. At least that's the way I look at it, because one day I'm not going to be doing that job. One day it'll just be yoga, and yoga is the only thing I'm going to have to do. So I like to look at it, at least for my sanity or insanity, whichever way you want to look at it, is I have my yoga as my full-time job, and then I have this 40 to 80 hour a week day job that pays the bills. So getting that balance to maintain that means that perhaps I have to, give up on a few things. So right now the social media aspect of trying to get all my stuff set up through a more corporate or a more business-wide Facebook page hasn't been high enough priority at this time. But I am on Yelp, and the Yelp page has been updated, so you can find me there too. Mentoring part is just usually I have my master teachers, my master yoga teachers. So from a business point of view, to run a business, no, I don't seek anything, but for the training to be able to provide the service that I provide as a yoga teacher, I do try to go at least twice a year to see my master teacher and just get some refreshers. And it's always interesting when I go back to visit with him, and so then we're going back through, he does his, his training that he's planned for the weekend, and it's like, okay, done that, okay, done that. Okay, he says, well, this is new, this is something I've never done with anybody before. I'm already doing that. And it's like, so we are already in, even though we aren't talking regularly or anything until I visit him at one of his workshops that he holds out here in the Chicago area twice a year, we're still in communication in other ways and still doing and sharing very similar things, but I don't talk to him. So it's just interesting how things kind of work out that way. Well, there's always the good actor kind of thing. You have to maintain a very respectable business, and make sure it's a safe environment for all, men, women, children, whoever happens to be in your class. And so there's always a concern just to make sure that, nothing is no lines are crossed. Everybody is happy with the service that's being provided. Yoga can be a hands-on experience when teaching, and so it's a matter of being, communicative with the students and asking them, is it okay for me to provide an adjustment to you, instead of just walking up and grabbing a hold of a student and then wondering, okay, what did they do that for, kind of thing. It's kind of part of the experience. Some people need to be more put into a pose. Some people you can coax into a pose using words. Some people can't feel it until you actually help them migrate more into certain poses. So it's always, that area, just to make sure everything is done above board and everything's done with integrity. I don't know. I guess it's just a matter of always trying to do what's right, always trying to be there to help people. People come to yoga classes looking to be healed at times. I have a couple of students that come who've had knee replacement surgeries, hip replacements, back issues, back surgeries, shoulder issues, knee replacements, like I said, ankle surgeries, foot surgeries, and all kinds of other things. And they come because they need more help. The medical community has kind of left them in a lurch. You get your physical therapy, and then, okay, you got your 4 or 8 weeks, insurance companies are done with you. Okay, you got your thing, how are you feeling? Well, it still hurts. I'm sorry, you've already used up your benefits, you can't go anymore. And so then it's where, well, what can you use? And so all of my yoga classes always start in the fact that you cannot work in a position if you're in pain. So the first thing all of my classes work on is first trying to understand and feel and sense where people are in their pain, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, and then work through some of those issues so that way they can get into the other aspects. And sometimes we don't do a whole lot of more difficult or traditional yoga poses. There's all these building block poses that I have. Again, I'm an engineer by trade, so I take all of the different poses that are there, and the motions and the movements and the actions and the reactions and the pushes and the pulls and all the stuff that you can do in a yoga pose, and break it down into really small pieces. And so depending upon where they're at and what they need, who they are, we can take each pose, triangle, whatever, and break it down into, okay, this is what your front leg needs to learn to do. This is what your back leg needs to learn to do. This is where the hips and the torso rotate. This is where your shoulders need to be. This is what your arms need to do. This is how the spine curves. And we break all those different poses down and do just really strange looking things. And then people come to me after we do some of that stuff and say, well, it didn't look that hard. And it was like, well, yeah, I know it doesn't look that hard, but it's very effective and it's very powerful on what it does. And it's just a matter of, oh my God, we're just standing here next to the wall holding it up, and all of a sudden I'm bursting out in sweat. And so it all varies, but like I said, my goal is just to try to eliminate pain and suffering in people and try to make them find their balance and provide them with a sense of peace. And if they can get that out of the yoga class, that's my only goal, is to make sure they come, whatever mode, mood, or avenue they come into class with, is to make sure they leave in a happier, healthier, more balanced place. I've been in Universal Spirit Yoga since it was founded in 2000. And so I started in '99 with the teacher, Stacey, and she had her own traveling yoga studio. She worked out of a different facility, and then in 2000 she went ahead and moved into a new place, and I just kept going on with her. And so as we've transitioned Universal Spirit Yoga into 2 other venues before this one, so it's just a matter of, I just follow along where the studio is. I'm not to a point where I want to have my own studio. I enjoy just being a part of a group in a special yoga community, and so it's all about community to me. And so the teachers and the camaraderie we have with the teachers in this facility is just very important. And the environment we have is a very peaceful, very nurturing, very open, settling type place, to where, if you come in all frazzled, a lot of people come here before class and they just kind of sit and everything just kind of mellows out for them. And so it's been a lot of work to get that to this place to where it could have that sense of peace for people. And so that's what my goal is to maintain that wherever the studio ends up. I learned that, it's important to just be honest and truthful, because that's, what matters. And so if you're honest and truthful with yourself and honest and truthful with your answers, then, everybody picks up on that. And so that's all about, the yoga part of it is just, it's about being truthful to yourself, about being truthful to others, thought, word, and deed. And so there's a lot of stuff in yoga that just makes it continue and continue, and just, you know, I kind of try to live the yogic lifestyle and try to live following all of the yamas and the niyamas, the do's and the don'ts, and just try to be the best person I can be. All right, so we'll start out today with Ekapadagustasana, again, hand to big toe pose. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that pose. One of the ways, and of course I didn't have my belt with me right away, is to use a strap. For those of you who either have short arms or long legs, and the legs and the feet don't, or the hands and the feet don't happen to meet, you can always just use the belt and then put your leg out to whatever position. So again, this is Ekapadagustasana, hand to big toe pose, even though the hand and the big toe don't quite reach here today. However, for those of you that are a little more flexible, you can go ahead and reach out and grab your big toe perhaps. And then again, you can use the other arm for balance. And then of course you can open the pose up, take it out to the side, and kind of hang out here for a little while, and then bring the leg back, and then the graceful dismount. Our next pose will be Vrikshasana, or tree pose. I like to think of tree pose as in the sizes of trees. You have your seedling, your sapling, and of course then your full-grown tree, and finally a great big giant sequoia. So to start with the pose, and in the seedling stage, you just go ahead and keep your hands on your hips, keep the pelvis stable, lift your one leg, and then pivot on the ball mound as you lift the heel to just above your ankle. At this point you have multiple spots on the floor for balance, but you're still getting some of the benefits of the hip opening. From here, if you would like to move more into the pose, if your balance is more stable, you can go ahead and bring the foot up just below the knee, press your foot into your down leg shin, and press the shin back into your foot. This will cause an energy flow through the legs, and again, all the benefits of tree. And then some of you might wish to go more into the final textbook version of the pose, which would have your foot all the way up on your thigh. So you can bring it all the way up right below the pelvic floor, have the foot completely above the knee. Do not cross the knee with this pose. It's either completely above it or completely below it. And then you can be here. Now some of you would like to go ahead and extend it all the way into perhaps that giant sequoia tree, and you just do that inhaling as you reach the arms overhead. Be here again 5 to 10 breaths in any of the variations that fit you. And then finally the graceful dismount. Our next pose is Utthita Trikonasana, or triangle pose. With triangle pose, there's a lot of different variations that can occur based upon the flexibility of the student. Some people have balance issues, some people have good balance, some people have flexibility, some people have limited flexibility. So I'll show you several variations of the pose today that will be accessible from beginner to advanced yoga student. So ideally, we want to try to get out so your ankles are under your wrists. Now, some of us, you may not be able to get there because of tightness in the hips, so just work your way apart, maybe shoulder width to start, maybe you go a little wider. The back foot will rotate then back 10 to 15 degrees as you pivot on the ball mound to get the heel so you have a slight internal angle. And then from there, you'll rotate your front leg out to a 90-degree angle, so the heel of your front foot lines up with the heel of your back foot or the arch. Again, depending upon balance, it's up to you to figure out which one works best for you. In the books, they're going to talk about heel to arch alignment. I like to do heel to heel alignment at times because it provides more stability for the participant. From there, the back hand just rests thumb on sacrum, finger on pelvic rim. And then you inhale up, creating all this side body space on the lower side. And then you just slowly tilt out as you keep pulling the front leg back. Now, for yoga, for this pose in Trikonasana, we want to try to keep your front leg as straight as possible. Again, some hamstrings get in the way, so it doesn't matter how low you go. Sometimes the chair is used to help provide some level of flexibility here, so you have your extra support, and you can just hang out here for a while. Again, 5 to 10 breaths. Ideally, we would like to try to get the pose to last for up to 5 minutes. But in the beginning time, we start a little bit slower and work our way through it. After you're here as a beginner, perhaps you want to work a little bit more deeply into the pose. So maybe the feet walk out just a little bit further, so you get more of that ankle wrist kind of extension. And then from there, you can continue down even a little bit further. And again, at this point, using different props. You can use a yoga block. You can, of course, stack multiple yoga blocks so that it works for you. Again, trying to maintain the straight lines of the triangle. So the front leg is straight, back leg is straight, the torso is straight, at least from the hips to the armpits, wherever you can get your flexibility. And of course, once you get into this position, again, 5 to 10 breaths or up to 5 minutes. And then some people like to go all the way down into the final version of the pose, where you just go all the way down to the floor Once you're at the floor level, again, you need to adjust perhaps your stride to make sure you're at the right space, trying to open the chest, open the heart, and then you can extend out. Now, some people, depending upon neck issues, would prefer to look down towards the floor. Some people just like to keep the head parallel because this maintains the most balance. And of course, in the textbooks, it's finally looking up towards that top palm. It's what works for you. And of course, the dismount, you reach out through the top hand, bend the front leg, rotate everything back together, and then if you want to, you can jump or walk your feet back together. Namaste. Thank you for watching. As a beginner, the hardest thing to do is to find a yoga studio, but then the most hardest thing to do is to actually step foot through the door of that yoga studio. Once you're there, you'll find a whole new world and you can continue your journey in this life. You'll find friends, you'll find community, perhaps even make new family. It is a wonderful thing, but the hardest thing again is to get through that door. So hopefully this video will allow you to make that first step, find that studio, walk through that door, and enjoy yoga.